So there is a fundamental shift going on in the world and in crypto right now. And if you understand it, you can literally class yourself with the next generation of millionaires and literally billionaires and potentially even trillionaires. I'm actually not exaggerating when I say trillionaire. If you understand the theory properly, you will also probably agree with me. And if not, that's fine. Everyone has their own opinion. And if you don't understand this shift, it's going to be really tough to get ahead. You're going to go further and further into poverty, trying to outperform inflation nonstop, and just be like running uphill at full speed and still for some reason not getting ahead and not being able to live the life that you desire. So I want to show you this theory and this shift so we can understand it on a fundamental level by first get in the time travel machine with me. We're heading to ancient Africa. This is what ancient Africa looked like in between 200,000 BCE and 350 BCE. Now, there was no crypto, there was no internet, there was no electricity, there was not even money, there was no paper money, there was not even gold used as money. What did they use as money originally in Africa? They used these things up here, cowry shells. And please stay with me because this is going to be a one-to-one comparison on what is happening in the world right now. Now, these cowry shells, they were found on the beaches and they were made by these beautiful looking snails down here. Now, why were cowry shells used? This is a natural occurrence. No one enforced them to be used, but they had the 5 characteristics of money. They were durable because they don't degrade easy. They last hundreds of years. They were portable, small, you can carry them around. They're divisible because they're individual units. They're recognizable because they're a very distinct thing. And they were scarce, at least to start. This is the key right here. Why are they scarce? Because it takes this little mollusk snail guy several months to a few years to actually build that shell. I think they take calcites from the water and they build it, which is, weirdly enough, the proof of work that went into this as a currency, which made it work as currency. And Africa thrived. There was markets, there were spices, everyone had camels, and they were rich people. They had little nice huts and things were really going well until one thing occurred, which is occurring right now in modern day, but in a different way. We'll get to that in a second. Europeans on a ship discovered a place called the Maldives. There's a country just probably more north than it looks here on this map up here, up near India. And the problem with the Maldives is they had millions of cowrie shells. They were abundant and they were all over the beaches, and they didn't use them as money obviously in the Maldives, but in Africa they did. So what happened, the Europeans discovered an infinite money glitch where they literally put millions of cowrie shells onto a boat, went back to Africa, and literally, if you've ever played like Grand Theft Auto and you just put in the cheat code where you have infinite money, you have infinite money. You can go back to Africa and you can buy whatever you want. You buy up everyone's food, you buy everyone's animals, you buy everyone's land, you buy the nicest camel, the Lamborghini camel of the time, because that is the fastest thing that there was for you to be able to ride. But you take your millions of non-scarce asset that was really easy to come across by just going to a new island, ship it back, and literally become the king and the emperor and the wealthiest person in all of Africa, while deflating and making everybody else's cowrie shells worth less and less. And the biggest thing that they took and bought, of course, the scarcest thing at the time was the land. If you can trade literally seashells for land. That's why a lot of these countries speak languages like French, because that's exactly what the French did. Now, why is this relevant? Well, if we scroll across to this new whiteboard tool that I've been using, in modern day, there is a country called United States of America. And in fact, this is happening worldwide, but in this example, I'm going to show you how it's happening in the US, because it's actually happening worse in other countries than it is in the USA. Now, in the USA, they have a currency, not the cowrie these days, but it's called the US dollar. And a lot of the US dollar is actually digital these days. And you keep it in something like a Chase bank account, like in this screenshot. Now, why is US dollars working well today? Well, the 5 characteristics of money: it's durable, because digital dollars can never go bad. Portable, because you can carry around on a phone or any device you want. Divisible, you can take down to a cent or maybe even below. I guess a cent might be the smallest you can really send. Recognizable, because everybody accepts the dollar worldwide. And however, they're not scarce, because they used to be scarce because they're gold backed, but now they can be printed infinitely. That's the problem, but that's not what we're going to get to at the moment. We're going to get to that in just a second, and why it's actually way worse than you think. What happens with this US dollars is you can go to the current day marketplace. You're no longer in this looking marketplace, but you're in the modern digital marketplace, and you can buy whatever you want as long as you have enough tokens to buy them. However, Someone invented an infinite money glitch. The same people. Well, they're not the same people. They're not the Europeans that went to the Maldives to collect the millions of cowry shells. In fact, it is a private institution called the Fed who can literally print infinite amounts of this currency, of these tokens, which is called the US dollar. And what happens is just like when you go get the cowry shells and you can buy up all the land, you can buy up all the scarce asset, but when you print more money, the value comes out of the money that's already circulating. So you can see the US dollar is less than 1% of the purchasing power in 2025 than it was 100 years ago because the Fed keeps printing money. The money supply goes up. Where does this money go? Well, you can shop on Amazon, sure, but more than likely you're going to be buying more scarce assets, things like land. And in the modern day, what you couldn't do back in Africa with the cowry shells, you could buy the scarcest asset in the world. Why is land not scarce? Well, one, you can make more land. Like I believe Boston's about 60% man-made land. You look at Dubai, the Palm de Jumeirah. Land is not as scarce as Bitcoin because you can create more of it. But also, why you don't store your money there, which we'll get to in a second, is land tax. You're going to be paying 1 to 2% in land tax every single year, which means your property value is going to go in 50 to 100 years. However, in Bitcoin, there's no land tax and there's only ever 21 million Bitcoin. So you're taking something more abundant than cowry shells and trading it for something that is truly scarce. And this graph shows you the dollar goes up over time exponentially, and Bitcoin has $21 million fixed supply. So now, Michael Saylor's theory, and I'm a big believer, is that Bitcoin, because of this fact, will eat up a large percentage of the overall economic value of the world. The current economic value of the world looks like this. A lot of it in real estate, a lot of it in equities, bonds, and then cash. And then you got some in art. Even gold is less than art, which is surprising. And then Bitcoin, way down here at 1.4 trillion. Michael Saylor estimates it's going to eat a third of the world's monetary supply and be absolutely skyrocketed, get that 100, 200x return. Why? Because all these other assets do not outperform monetary inflation, which is the amount that the Fed prints is higher than the returns of parking your money in any of these assets. Real estate investment trusts seem to be the only thing outside that. Now, Bitcoin's not on this graph, and depends how long you measure it from. If you measure it from the day it started, it's got astronomical numbers. But even in the last 5 years, you're getting 60% on your money every single year. Michael Saylor thinks that's going to go down to 30%. But guess what, guys? The demand for Bitcoin always goes up because there's 3 types of buyers. The first are individuals, people like me and you. The second are companies with massive treasuries and the ability to raise as much money as they possibly can, just like they're going to go collect millions of cowry shells because they sell their stock for cash, which is basically the worthless cowry shell, and then they take that cash and invest it in Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, and therefore their stock's worth more, and guess what they do? They raise more cash based on the new valuation. Infinite money glitch. I have a whole video breaking that down, but everyone gets bored when I talk about it. But to me, it's the most insane and exciting thing ever that we finally have a way to take advantage of the Federal Reserve, who keeps deflating our money year to year, by leveraging it and putting it into a truly scarce asset. And look what happens when you do. You can see the top performing stock in the S&P 500 was the one that was backed by Bitcoin, which is MicroStrategy. Now, before we get onto the other companies adopting it, nation states are also now adopting it. And it's one massive game theory of who can print the most money for something that is actually scarce. Who can go get the most cowry shells and trade it for gold or for land. But the big breaking news this week is that GameStop is now adopting Bitcoin as an official treasury asset. This is Michael Saylor meeting with Ryan Cohen, the CEO of GME, GameStop, and orange pilling him and getting him to back his company with Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin treasury companies are coming. GameStop, I think, is the second one in the S&P 500 to do it. However, there is a lot more than just those companies. Have a look at this graph right here. This is company treasuries and how much Bitcoin they're owning. And you can see it's almost 3,200,000, which is a terrible way for me to say 3.2 million. Remember, there's only 21 million total Bitcoin. And in fact, I think I skipped a fun fact up here. There are 60 million millionaires as individuals in the world. And if each one of them tried to buy just one Bitcoin, you literally couldn't. Bitcoin will go to 10, 20, $30 million a coin because you can't squeeze 60 million people into 21 million. And that's 21 million total supply. How many people are willing to sell their Bitcoins / haven't lost their Bitcoins? There's a lot less. Now, Simply Bitcoin tweeted, fun fact, GameStop's market cap and cash reserves are 10 times larger than MicroStrategy when it started its Bitcoin treasury, meaning even bigger whales than MicroStrategy, who now have 500,000 Bitcoin, are coming in and participating in this biggest transfer of wealth that we will ever see. In fact, GameStop raised $1.3 billion to buy Bitcoin, and a lot of people are like, why'd they raise $1.3 billion? Because I think they have $4 or $6 billion of cash in their treasury. Well, literally, they're taking advantage of this infinite money glitch that I talked to you about, and that a lot of people skip over when I talk about, where they can raise money for basically free, invest in Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up, stock goes up, raise more money, and it's basically free money, so they're taking advantage of that infinite money glitch. Bitcoin Therapist says GameStop is going to buy $6 billion worth of Bitcoin. Marathon, which is Mara, which is a Japanese company that is doing exactly what MicroStrategy is doing in Japan, is about to buy $2 billion of Bitcoin, and MicroStrategy has infinite dollars to buy Bitcoin. And they have infinite money for a few reasons, but one of the reasons is the infinite money glitch that I've explained 3 times now. Here's the biggest thing though. More and more companies are going to be adopting a Bitcoin treasury reserve, because when they do, they are literally powering themselves by the anti-inflation machine that's going to hold the value of their assets and outperform every single other asset as it has over the last decade and even over the last 5 years. And as we talk about on this channel, the crypto whip is strongly in play. We are betting on the tides of Bitcoin rising just because of this game theory. And when it does rise, everything with a lower market cap is going to temporarily, it's not going to be as sustainable as Bitcoin as you've seen. It's a lot more volatile, and 100x ups also means 100x downs when Bitcoin is not soaring. But as Bitcoin continues to go exponential and people think that we are on the precipice of it really being in that banana zone, all of these altcoins are going to rain down returns for us to catch. And a lot of people are skeptical. They said, oh, you know, Bitcoin's over. That was the bull market that we saw, that little bump. Have a look at Bitcoin news. He says the party hasn't even started yet. This is the 2017 bull market, the 2021 bull market. Have a look at where we are currently pricing at the moment. That's the peak at 109,000, pulling back at the moment at about $80,000. We haven't really even seen the upside in this cycle. And Dr. Van Nostrand puts this really strongly. I revisit this tweet from time to time because when you zoom out, it all makes sense. He says, perhaps now is a good time to remind everyone we're going to 20 million per coin by 2031. Now, I don't believe we're going quite that high. It is possible, but even if we get halfway there, or even if we get 1/5 of the way there, we are on the right side of history. We are not holding cowry shells. We are holding the gold and the land and the truly scarce assets. And because of that, we are going to be on the right side of history. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.